So Rogue Dimension asks, is it possible to add different ammo types to existing weapons? Like the 40mm grenade launcher, for instance, having incendiary, smoke, etc., in addition to regular grenades. So when I first wrote up the sort of the weapon system, I guess, for State of Decay 2 ages ago, long before release, I actually did include alternate ammo types as a feature in the game. We had very recently, been working on the Year One Survival Edition, and one of the things that we had included was incendiary weapons, was like shotguns that fired Dragon's Breath ammo. And the decision we were actually thinking, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you could have two different types of shotgun shells and you could load any shotgun with Dragon's Breath? But that turned out to be that's complicated, adding an entirely new, control to the game, and you would have to, include new UI to show you that you were swapping to different different ammo types, that sort of thing. It would have been a lot of complexity. We had not a lot of bandwidth to add things to the game for the Year One Survival Edition. Getting Cleo in there and getting the challenges in there was kind of enough. So instead, we just added a new type of ammo and a new entire class of weapons that fired that ammo. So we'd have just Dragon's Breath specific weapons that would only fire Dragon's Breath ammo, which is not the way it works in the real world. But we were like, this is what we can do. Hope people enjoy it, and we ran with it. But very soon after that, I was designing State of Decay 2, and I was like, we should try the better version of this. We should bring Dragon's Breath over, but let players select their ammo types. And so when I was designing how we were going to arrange the controls, I was like, okay, you pull the left trigger, and then all of your face buttons change what they do. The X button becomes reload, not the Y button like State of Decay 1, because I'm not a madman. The X button is reload. The Y button is switch weapons between your primary and your sidearm. The B button is switch ammo types, and the A button is special stuff like aim snap. But then the realities of development hit, and we cut almost all of those features. We cut weapon swapping, we cut ammo types, we kept the aim snap, and we kept reloading. So basically, when you aimed your gun, there was really only two face buttons that you could use for something: the X button to reload and the A button to do things like aim snap. And I just won't mention the assault kick because no one does that, and who cares? That's also on the A button. But then once we came and did the Juggernaut edition and some of the updates after that, we got the opportunity to bring some of those features back. And so definitely weapon swapping, the ability to have a sidearm, that was something that was very high priority, because it let you, sort of bring two different types of weapon with you: a suppressed weapon and a high damage weapon, for instance, or a crowd control weapon. And so there was a lot of really good advantages to that. So we definitely wanted to put that in there, and we had the bandwidth to actually include the UX, showing you the two weapons swapping, that sort of thing. So we put that on the Y button. And I had a proposal to also put ammo swapping on the B button. But we had a problem, which was we had already made it so that while you were aiming, you could hit the B button to dodge. And that was very familiar. If you didn't have the gun aiming, you could use the B button to dodge, and aiming the gun didn't change that. You could just use the B button to dodge. And when I started proposing, hey, we could put ammo swapping on the B button again, like the original plan said, a lot of people reacted like, but I use the dodge button all the time. I'm constantly aiming my gun into the last possible second, and when a zombie gets close, I dodge before I've had a chance to fully release the left trigger. And I was surprised by that, because, I didn't remember doing that. In fact, I had always thought that having, pulling the left trigger to have a whole bunch of, a suite of different actions available to you, and not having dodge be one of them, saying basically, if you want to dodge, let go of the left trigger and then dodge. I thought that was going to work. And so I had never even considered that people would feel like dodge was essential while you were aiming. But enough people said that I took it seriously. And, and so basically deprioritize the idea of adding another button there, instead keeping the functionality the way that it was. And there was also some big questions about whether or not adding alternate weapon types you could swap to would be a bridge too far as complexity goes. One of the things we really have to think about a lot in State of Decay 2 is the complexity budget, because the game is doing lots of different things simultaneously. It's not just a community management game. It's not just an action game. It's both of those at the same time. It's not just looting. It's all three of those at the same time. And so it's really important to us to not have any one of those things get so complex that it takes, your attention away from the others. And so we realized that, one thing that could be really challenging is, for a brand new player coming into the game and having two different ammo types for the same gun, would it be obvious to them how to switch? And then what happens, like, if you run out of one ammo type? Do we have you manually switch ammos? Or do we have it happen automatically? Things like that, like questions like that became, basically just, it was a lot of problems for us to solve. It's kind of like the door problem, which, it's a common thing when people try to illustrate how difficult game design is. They'll bring up the question of, well, how do you open a door in a video game? And the deeper you look into that problem, problems that you solve in reality, just how easily you step aside to open a door, how easily, how easy it is to sort of just manage the logistics of opening a door in reality. In a video game, it's not reality. You have to solve all of these little detail level problems that people don't really think about most of the time. You can look up the door problem on the internet and see, big long articles about how it works. There's a similar sort of door problem thing when it came to ammo swapping. There were a lot of anticipated complexities with what it would be like to actually have to switch ammo, especially if you're a new player who's brand new to the game, who wasn't building on an existing base of understanding of State of Decay 2, but were coming at it fresh. Adding that one layer of complexity might actually be a bridge too far for some people because there were so many little tiny detailed situations you could get into that would make it confusing. Like, what if you have had, like, for instance, you've got a shotgun that's full of conventional rounds, and you've also got some Dragon's Breath rounds in your inventory, and so you run out of your conventional rounds, and maybe we auto swap you to the Dragon's Breath. I would think probably not. Probably we make you manually swap to the Dragon's Breath. But then what if you emptied the shotgun and you still maybe you never had Dragon's Breath round in your ammo, or maybe you do have some in your inventory, but then you switch characters away and then you come back to that character again. They've got a shotgun and Dragon's Breath ammo, but the shotgun, is it still set to expect conventional ammo? Do could you have an empty shotgun that you found and then you go and find Dragon's Breath? And then do we automatically switch the shotgun to accept the only ammo you've got in your inventory? Or do we make you manually switch it? And then if you're a brand new player and you pick up a shotgun that has Dragon's Breath ammo already loaded in it, or it's already set to Dragon's Breath ammo, and then you want to switch it, and then you want to load conventional rounds into it, conventional, shells into it, but you don't understand that it's set to Dragon's Breath, so you've got the shotgun shells and you've got the shotgun. Why can't I reload my shotgun? There's just all of those situations like that would be probably a nightmare for a lot of new players. And so rather than try to tackle all of that and trying to figure out how we're going to tutorialize this, how we're going to teach it, we're like, you know what? People already like dodging with the B button. Why don't we just let them keep having that? And if we get the opportunity in some future time in the franchise where the user experience with a gun is different and it makes more sense to offer alternate ammo types, maybe through some other means, like something like if we did more complex weapon modding, for instance, and you could switch out just overall which type of ammo a gun can take overall. Like, maybe that's a way that we could do it, something like that. Like, there might be opportunities in the future to do a feature like that. And by the way, that is not me talking about a real feature. That's just me making something up off the top of my head. Do not quote me like I've confirmed something. But anyway, the point is, there might be opportunities to do something that later on down the road. But State of Decay 2 as an established game with an established complexity level and buttons that already do certain things didn't leave us a lot of room to add that feature to State of Decay 2. But I totally understand why you were interested in that feature, Rogue Dimension. I wanted it too. I tried 2 separate times to work it into the game because I really liked it. But it just turned out not to be something we could pull off. Okay, so let me scan the chat real quick to see if anybody else is talking. So yeah, when I talked about how video games are so different from reality, Radovcourt says, wait, video games aren't reality? So yeah, I mean, that I know that there are a lot of people in the world who genuinely have trouble telling the difference, but yes, of course. Okay. I think I've answered that question, so let's wrap this up, and I'll put some links to other videos over here, and you can go and click on those if you want to. And maybe I'll answer another viewer question sometime in the future, and that one will go there. Really depends on whether you ask good questions.